Good. Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
I can hear you now. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you for this invitation and introduction, Emmanuel and Paul. I attended the Inspire conference this year, and I was really blown away and excited. And I'm glad I get to share a bit of what I do with everybody else. I would like to give a special shout out to my husband who's on the call today, Dr. Andreas Schubert. Thank you for being here today, because yeah, it's an interesting journey we have working across continents. Let me just try to get my slides up and then we can get into this. Okay, good. I hope you can all see my presentation.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, perfect. Today I'm going to talk about Momegan Oils of Hope. An interesting journey we have taken now. It's taken a bit of time. There are many timestamps that stand out, but I think one of them that really stands out for me is in 2010. That is when we really began getting to do this work. Yeah, that is me again with my daughter, who is now much, much taller than me. She's over 6 foot tall, 14-year-old girl, really brilliant and interesting. But I grew up in Uganda, got my bachelor's degree in at Makerere University in Development Studies. Then when I moved to Leipzig, I got my MBA in General Management. I began out working in the NGO sector in Uganda. Then when I moved to Germany, I worked for a research institution. I was doing business development. And the work we did was a lot around medicinal plants from Uganda, trying to find how we could bring them into the system in Germany, because Germany is one of the countries, I think, that has one of the most established herbal medicine uses in the world, that many of them can be prescribed by doctors. So I thought that quite interesting to get into that. And that's partly why I did my MBA, to be able to support this project better. I worked with my husband for all that time. And then eventually in 2018, I moved back to Uganda and founded Donka Plant Uganda Limited. And then in 2019, we began the Momegan Natural Cosmetics Oils in Otohe district in northern Uganda. That is a bit of the summary of it. And then if I can go a bit further, the art of the start, how we started all this. Like when I lived in Germany, I used to volunteer, like when we had Ugandan people coming to Germany for events, for trade fairs and trade missions. I would offer to translate for some of them and help them to make the connections, because the thing I learned is many of starting companies don't really have the capacity to crack the big business deals, but they're able to talk to smaller buyers. And unfortunately, the smaller buyers have a language barrier. So I speak fluent German. I'm like, I can help in this area. And also, like, I did a postgraduate training in export management. So it was quite good to see how these things would work. But eventually it started to look like we needed to do something in the practice to just show people how this thing is supposed to work, because sometimes you tell somebody, this is how you communicate, send your documents on time. You have to realize we had a challenge with market readiness for some of the people who are working with. And then I said, you know what, since I'm going to be going back home to do different things, and the project the primary project for which I came back to Uganda is still it's still in its starting shoes. We are not yet where we need to be. I'm like, I have a bit of time on my hands. I've done a lot of trainings for SMEs, help people, coach them into starting their own businesses and the like. Then I'm like, okay, we'll see how we can get about this whole export business for agribusiness products. Yeah, so Onkaplanta was incorporated in June 2019 in Kampala. We develop products for animal, plant, and human health from indigenous Ugandan plants. We identify, research, develop, grow, produce, and market these products. One of the things that is very important is to always have the market focus right up there, because one of the things we learned in business school, something you keep on learning in life, is that if you're developing something nobody needs and is willing to pay for, it's a hobby. It's not really, it's just you're wasting your time. You will enjoy the work, but it won't really bring you much reward for it. You will just bring your personal satisfaction from that effort. So I was very clear about that, and then we'll look out for calls that were relevant to what we're doing, so that we are able to make sure that we have a market for where these things are going. Because when you look at agriculture, agriculture employs 80% of Ugandans. So you need to be sure there's going to be a good return on that investment and time, so that you're able to pass on a lot of the benefits of what you're trying to do. We operate in Uganda and in Leipzig, Germany. In Uganda, we are in Pakwach, where we have a moringa tree farm, and also in Otuke, where we have the shea butter factory, which I'll be talking about mainly today. And then in Leipzig, where my husband and daughter still live, is where we do a lot of our research and development of the products. Yeah, so what we're doing is building sustainable value chains from farm to finished product. Like once we identify plants that have potentials to then see, because when you're dealing with plants, you have to be careful. There's certain international regulations you have to think about, like CITES, which is the Convention on Trade in Endangered Species, the Nagoya Protocol about access and benefit sharing from biodiversity. So those are things you have to really think about from the very onset. So you can't just say, I found this tree which works, and go on a debarking adventure in the forest to just supply. It's not very sustainable, and also very irresponsible towards the environment and our Mother Earth. So we believe that when we find something and do the proof of concept in the lab, then the next goal is to make sure we're able to plant these trees and then start to bring in outgrowers. And then what we're working towards is having an extraction facility of international standards that will build up in Uganda, maybe in about 3 years to come, and then send out almost finished products to the market, so that we have a higher value earning from what we're doing. Our factory is in the heart of the Ghanaian Shea Belt in Otoho district. We began production in March last year. I'll say a bit more about that later, because as we all know, the world changed so suddenly, and we're still seeing how further it's going to continue changing. Now, on this slide here, you're seeing a friend of mine that I work with, Susan. Susan and I are childhood friends. We grew up together. We went to primary school together. And then when we joined senior one, she unfortunately was abducted and spent 8 years in captivity with the Pony rebels. And so when I was finishing my MBA, I really thought about her, and I prayed to God, and I said, God, if you really are there and you care about people, just give me a miracle and say that Susan is somehow, she managed to come out alive, because she had been declared dead and missing in 1999. So when I finished my MBA, I just said that, like, there was a headline which said the last of the Aboke girls have come back home. So I was like, I'm going to look for them and see what happened with Susan. But when I Googled her, she was alive and well and on Facebook. I got so excited. I remember I managed to get her contact. I called her, we spoke. Then when I came back, because like our headmistress had since retired, and she knew as soon as I had come back. So in the picture here, you have Susan, Carol, myself, and my auntie, who was our English teacher in school. We went to visit our headmistress, Sister Bonnie, where she was living in retirement in Namugongo at the Franciscan convent. And it was a joyful reunion, because Sister had last seen her in 1995, like myself, and here she was. And we had a long conversation about what the future held. And I spoke to her, and she said, I want to go into agriculture because I see there's potential to help people there. I said, well, we are looking at this project with the medicinal plants. I don't know how that's going to look in the practice. For now, we're just all fundraising and starting, but I think by the time you finish university, something will have come out concrete that we can do together. So eventually I learned about the shea tree and the value it had to offer. And I thought to myself, wow, this is just amazing. This is, I think, something we can start from. Her home, she comes from Lydia district. And so we set about to find land. It took us 2 years to find land for the project. We began searching for land in 2017, and we were successful towards the end of 2018. And then we continued fundraising because we needed quite a bit of money to start. But how all that money came together was really just the support of family and friends in Germany, particularly, because eventually we kind of like, we needed about, I would say, I think that's the equivalent of $300,000 to be able to have the factory and have a bit of working capital and install the equipment to start working. And many friends came together and I said, you know what, we believe in what you're doing. Let's get this money together and send you out to start. And in 2018, it was, we had finally reached that point, and then we started the whole process of building up. And then, in 2019, we began to build the factory. In one of the pictures here, you see we were having a community meeting where we were introducing the project to the village, where we were working in a mini truck. And then on the other side, you can see a picture of my daughter. They came when we had begun the construction of the factory in 2019 in July. They were at least able to come. And now we're just waiting to see how COVID travel looks like so they can come back again and see the finished work. In 2019, we managed to install the equipment in November and did a dry run. Everything went perfectly. And then, when we thought we'd start production in January of 2020, we discovered a lot of things had not been done right with the factory. We struggled a lot. We have rewired the factory 3 times now. Every technician is the best, but it's always quite an adventure. Eventually found a young man who's able to help us keep that side of things working very well. And since March 2020, we have been working and haven't really looked back. In summary, business starts in May when the shea nuts start to fall. And then we have about, actually the main month to buy shea nuts is in July to August every year. And we bring the nuts to the factory, dry them fully ourselves, then do the sorting, the washing, the packaging and processing, and then do the sales and all of that. Our team here, the core team, we have Susan and Sam Odongo. To Sam, I'll say one thing. Sam is the LC1 of our village, and he has helped us solve so many problems. Like when we came in, like the person who sold us the land refused to give us access to the road. So we had a bit of a trouble because we were 1 kilometer off the road in the village. But he took it upon himself to talk to all the different families where we could have possible access to the factory until we found the easiest place that only had 2 brothers who were next to our land. And then he sat down with them and spoke to them and really, you see the value of community leaders with the work he did. And then he said, whatever we can do to make this thing work, we're going to make it work, because we have had so many projects come here to Otuke for shea butter and they have failed. We want to see that this one is a success, and whatever we can do, we are willing to do it. And even the LC1s of the neighboring villages, they all came and said, we are here to help. The church leaders came and said, we are here to help. We shall pray. If you need us to talk to people, just let us know how we can make this thing happen. And then Katarina is a colleague of my husband as well. She also lives, she's a biologist as well. And she said, I come from Eastern Europe. I speak 3 main languages that side. So if you need support with customers there, I'm available to help. And that is how it has really worked. The way we do our business is we pay a direct price to the collectors, and we cut out the middlemen and middlewomen. And the other thing we do is, because this shea belt has very poor infrastructure, we transport the shea nuts ourselves. We don't put that burden on the collectors. We go and pick up and bring to the factory and dry them. And by using high quality equipment, we put the equipment from Germany for the factory. Well, at least we have one of the best qualities of shea butter in Uganda you can find at the moment. And of course, when you make sure your nuts are well handled, you have a good product to offer. I know in spite of the COVID challenges, we have insisted on staying strong on product development and innovation. Currently, we have shea butter, moringa oil, and sunflower. In this month of December, we're going to begin the production of marula oil and desert dates as well. And then I think mango butter is something we're pushing into the new year simply now because the mango season is long gone. There's still a bit of work to be done. And we decided not to waste the season of COVID. Like if we can't do sales, we shall do R&D. So by the time markets fully open up again, there's a lot we have to offer. Specifically because we are looking at targeting people who do cosmetic formulation themselves and are looking to source at least 2 ingredients until we can offer you exciting ingredients from our communities in Uganda. Right now, that is what our products look like. We have the shea butter and moringa oil. Then also have the shea butter and moringa oil for bulk purchases. And then we're doing shea butter handmade soaps, mainly for the local market in Uganda. In our community right now, we have about almost 30 members of staff in Otuke and in Pakwach. And we have done a lot of training for our workers. Many of them are unskilled labor, but we just work with them patiently. Like in our factory, we work in English, German, and Lango, and Leb Lango. Those are the languages we use to do our work, and we've managed quite well on it. To be honest, it's a great job we do. We are really proud of the work we have been able to do so far, and also being able to buy quite a bit of shea nuts in the past 3 seasons we have been active. And then also we began to reach out to farmers in Kasese when their markets for moringa fell away due to COVID. We stepped in and said, okay, we can start to produce that moringa oil already while we wait for the moringa within our region to also grow. And it's an oil, actually, it's one of our fastest growing products at the moment. It's quite well received both in Uganda and outside of Uganda. And it's outselling the shea butter at the moment, actually, because everybody who gets to use it really, really loves it. And then also being in the community, you're able to see the needs and reach out. Like last year, we had a period of starvation, and we're able to reach out. We did a Facebook call and did a fundraiser, and we're able to reach at least the communities where the factory is located and get food for those 105 households. And also reaching out to the girls in the community with sanitary materials for them to use. And we also adopted a football team. And the thing I like about our football team is we also have a girls section of the football team. You know, in this season, we have seen with children being out of school, that teenage pregnancies have gone really, really up. But at least we're able to keep them gainfully engaged. And our football coach also is an agriculture teacher. So our football team is also learning a lot of skills. Them and their families are going to be our first model farmers for the concept we're introducing for Momegan, to say, you not only sell shea to us, you can sell moringa, you can sell marula to us, and this is how you can grow them on one integrated farm to have all these things, so that all year round you have a number of products you're able to sell to us to use. And also keep on reaching out. Of course, we hope to grow this further. Like, also get a bit more of the bulk clients, what involve them with more, so we can reach out to more youth. I think sports is a language young people speak very well, and then you can use that to add on to other things we want them to do with us and their families, and reach them through that instead of the classical things people try to do with communities, when we just go through sports, because that's the door that opened up for us during COVID actually to help in that regard. Yeah, 2019, when we started out, we were featured in the local newspapers in Uganda. And that is really what we're doing, turning it into a hub, not just for shea butter, but also for just natural cosmetic oils, and seeing how far that can go. What we hope to really have is to have multiple sustainable shea income streams around the shea butter, honey, production of chocolate briquettes, and also what we are piloting now in Otuke at the factory is to have a woodlot for charcoal production with a high efficient kiln. Because current charcoal production in Uganda, about 80% is lost because of the inefficient burning. But if we can improve that and then make sure people are using other trees than the shea tree. We can protect the shea tree without hurting energy needs, because 90% of Ugandans still use charcoal to cook or firewood. So unless you give them a real solution, you can't say cut down trees without giving them where they can turn to. So we're going to model that and hope that it can scale up in the near future. In terms of support, a lot of the support I have had has come from the German government, because they're very strong on supporting research and also translation of research into real products. We've had like about 5 grants over the past 10 years to support our work, the writing of the business plan, the proof of concept, matching with partners, with marketing partners, and it's been very helpful for us. Then eventually, when I decided to come back home, it was not an easy task to get dual citizenship, because Uganda and Germany do not have that agreement. It's a case-by-case decision. But through the support of the German, the federal foreign office in Germany, I was matched with a very good former diplomat to Uganda, who managed to help me to prepare my documents and arguments. And actually, I was successful and managed to get my passport back to be able to do my work and have freedom to operate. Some of the challenges we have right now, the 2 biggest ones, is we don't have access to the national grid, and running a factory in generator really increases our cost of production. And then we have very poor roads in the share belt, which increases our cost of transport immensely. And then one of the things we're still figuring out how to deal with has been the COVID effect on international markets, simply because trade fairs have been shut down for a long time now. And now when we thought they were reopening again, most of the world, especially Europe, are experiencing high COVID numbers, that many things have been shut down again. So it's going to be something that's going to keep on being difficult, because it's very hard to send a cold email to a supplier. It's easier to meet at a trade fair and then have those one-on-one discussions to see how to do business together. Yeah, what the future looks like, we see one of the things we need to look at is certification to increase our market access chances. Then we want to expand the factory to have a modern warehouse we can store more raw materials. And then also want to build a solar-powered cold room. Number one, we have a lot of sun in Otuke, but these rooms do exist so that because when you have when you're able to store shea butter and oils under 8 degrees, we increase their shelf life from 3 years to 5 years. That gives us more leverage to produce and have more, have flexibility to respond to demand if it is there, but also to be sure that at least you can maintain the quality of your product for a longer time without necessarily increasing the cost, because with solar, it's a one-off investment in that. And we are very strong on product development and research. And we'll have a wide range of high-value cosmetic oils, because the thing I realized, there's so much you can do in agribusiness. And I thought I'll just go into this particular market simply because for as long as the women on God's good earth, there will always be a demand for cosmetics, and especially natural cosmetics right now. The trend is strong on that people are seeking more to use natural products, even within Uganda, even within Africa. People are seeking to use more of the natural products. And that one, I think, will be able to, I think we're going to be the first people in Uganda to offer marula oil that is homemade, for instance. And this country also, we have a high import level for products. And I think we can bridge that gap very easily by even just focusing on the local market. And one of the things we've been strong on is leveraging the diaspora networks to access new markets, because right now, sometimes you have very small inquiries where the shipping costs are about 10 times the cost of the product. But people at least are like, hey, I'm traveling to this country. If you need me to deliver something, I'll do that for you. And that's how we've been able to go in so many countries in a short time without necessarily increasing our budget to be in those spaces per se. So being in that network has been very good for us. Just actually Ugandans all over the world have been very, very supportive to the growth of our business. What I would say to diasporans is networking is very important. you have to just keep on talking to people and seeing what comes out of that. Just be in those spaces where conversations are around working back home are happening, because that is how you get to see what possibilities are there, different ways to work, because not everybody has to fully move back home like I did to do what I'm doing, but there are other ways to get things done. And we just have to keep on talking to different people. Like the ladies I have in this picture were both PhD candidates in Germany in 2014. And we met at it was a high level dialogue for the German Ministry for Development Cooperation. They were rethinking the Africa strategy. So we sat there and talked. And that's how the opportunity to showcase Uganda at one of the biggest SME conferences in Germany happened. And actually, that is what gave me the confidence to actually now say, actually, there is a potential, there is a demand for Ugandan products. And I think if we do it right, it can help us to grow our incomes. Because like Paul said, like we can now become the people who are the conduits of that cash, because we're able to be on this side and on that side. And then we know we are repatriating those profits back to the continent to develop it further. And we're able to do that with the things we have to offer. Then when you're doing your homework, you need to do homework and do homework on the homework, because sometimes things around purchase of land in Uganda can be very painful. I think we see that in the news a lot. Something I've experienced myself, that family will collude to really lead you to suffer a lot of financial loss and just stay in a system of legal. The legal system is very draining, because a simple case can drag on for years and years and years. So you have to be careful whom you liaise with on ground. Then you need to be very patient and very resilient, because it's not an easy journey. There's a lot of sacrifices to make. You lose some relationships with family, with friends as you work. So you have to be careful about that. But then as you work, you need to build up teams and systems to do your work, because you can't be an island, you can't be a one-man or one-woman team. And I would just give one of my school mottos, which is really never give up, because it can be very, very, very taxing to do this work. Like for me, last year was a tough one, because due to the first lockdown, it was really hard because flights were shut down. And for the first time, I didn't see my family for over 7 months straight. And it was really tough to be an imam for that kind of time. But at least now, with all the SOPs, it's possible to stay in motion and be able to live in both worlds again. And that has been quite good. But also, like, you need your family to be on your team, because like I think without my husband's support and our daughter's buy-in, because I think she pays the highest price for what we do. She gets to grow up with one parent most of the time, but she's very much in sync with what we do. Actually, like the logo you see, she did the first sketch for that logo that we are using. And so I always get her to give a lot of input into the design of the product, what they think about it. And she even invested some of her money from her grandmother, her trust fund for university. She said, you know what, I'll give it to you guys to get this thing going. And she said, you see, the beauty of me giving you my money is even if the business goes bust, you as my parents will have to figure out how to pay for me to go to university. So I lose nothing. But if it works out, then I'll go to university with a bit of extra cash to spare. So that I'm grateful for that. And also for friends that call, they support, they pray with you, they purchase. They mention you in spaces you could not easily get into. And then before you know it, the story starts to grow. Yeah, the journey of 1,000 miles, I think we're now at about maybe mile 10. There's still a longer way to go. But we firmly believe that we will get to where we want to be. I've just remembered now that we're supposed to have shown a video. Maybe if there'll be time later, we'll get to see it. But yeah, that is a bit of what Momegan is. Thank you for letting me share with you tonight.
Hi, my name is Lydia Nakayenze Schubert. I am the founder of Momegan. Momegan means Oils of Hope. We produce cold pressed shea butter here in Otoke district. This is a name we came up with when we were looking for a site for the factory. We traveled a bit within the areas of the shea belt. To get shea butter, you need to wait quite a long time. The trees we see are trees that are over 100 years old. Shea trees need at least 15 to 20 years to fruit for the first time. During the buying season, we go out to the different communities.
There are those who bring for us to the factory gate, and then there are those we follow to the different marketplaces.
When we are buying, we try to buy good quality nuts. We have our criteria for checking out the nuts, make sure that the nuts are not damaged or broken in any way.
We get them to the right moisture content that can be stored, that is at least below 8 or below 7 of the moisture content. That one you can keep the nuts as long as they can stay. Prior to processing the nuts, we again get the nuts and wash them in plain clean water and dried again in the sun. Then when they are fully dry, at a moisture content between 7 to 12 for our machines to run well. Before processing, we do the weighing of the nuts to know exact quantity or the amount of nuts we are going to process for that day. We take the moisture content for that batch that we are going to process. That is when now we feed it to the machine and we start pressing the nuts. After pressing, it goes to our crude oil tank. That is our reserve. We press until we have the right amount. Then we filter the shea butter. After filtering, we collect the filtered shea butter in the different containers, and then now we package to the different sizes to suit the market.
One of the things we did when we were coming here, we had a lot of community engagements to see what did people need from us, and they told us we have been trained enough in post-harvest handling. All we need is a steady, fair market, and they said that we can offer. But then also, of course, because shea nuts fall during the rainy season, it is very hard to dry them because they have to be sun-dried, and most of the people here are farmers. So there's a time they're supposed to be tending their gardens. They can't be playing cat and mouse with the sun to have the shea nuts dry. We are working with the local communities
To use natural resources sustainably.
to produce the very best cold pressed Ugandan oils. So we welcome you to join us on this journey.